My name is Marcus, and tonight I will take you into a story that you will never forget. Tell me in the comments which country and which city you are watching this video from. The camera shows a dark highway at night. Wind howls in the background. I need to know where you are watching from because what I'm about to tell you, it might be happening near you right now. On the highways, in the darkness, where no one can hear you scream. 2. I've been a truck driver for 15 years. I've seen things that would make grown men cry. Things that would make you never want to drive at night again. But 3 months ago, I encountered something so terrifying that I almost quit my job forever. Sound of truck engine rumbling. Eerie music begins softly. They call them the highway shadows, creatures that hunt along empty roads when the moon is dark. Most drivers who see them never make it home to tell the story. I'm one of the lucky ones, if you can call it luck. Before I start, I want you to check your doors. Make sure they're locked. Close your curtains. Because once you hear this story, they might start looking for you too. The shadows always know when someone learns their secret. This happened on Highway 50, the loneliest road in America. They call it the Highway of Death. After tonight, you'll understand why. So buckle up and pray that you never find yourself driving alone on a dark highway after hearing what I'm about to tell you. 2. The build-up. It started like any normal Tuesday night. I was hauling a load of electronics from Las Vegas to Denver. The company gave me a tight deadline, so I had to drive through the night. I should have known something was wrong when the dispatcher's voice shook as he gave me the route. Sound of Marcus shifting gears, radio static in background. The first strange thing happened around 9 p.m. I was listening to the radio when all the stations went silent at the exact same time. Not static, complete silence. Like someone had turned off every radio tower within 100 miles. That's when I noticed my GPS started acting weird too. The GPS kept showing roads that didn't exist. Side roads branching off into pure darkness. Roads with names like Shadow Lane and the Forgotten Mile. I thought it was just a glitch, but then I started seeing the signs. Real road signs for these impossible roads. By 11 p.m., I hadn't seen another car for over an hour. Not unusual on Highway 50, but something felt different. The darkness seemed thicker. My headlights weren't reaching as far as they should, and the silence outside was so complete, it made my ears ring. That's when I saw the first one. Just a glimpse in my peripheral vision, a figure standing beside the road. Tall, impossibly thin, wearing what looked like old hospital clothes. It was there for just a second, then gone. I told myself it was just fatigue playing tricks on my mind. But then I saw another one, and another, always standing perfectly still beside the road, always facing my truck as I passed. They appeared in my headlights for just a moment, then vanished into the darkness. Their eyes reflected the light like an animal's, but wrong somehow. I tried calling dispatch on my CB radio, but all I got was whispers. Dozens of voices whispering things I couldn't understand. And underneath the whispers, I heard something that made my blood run cold. The sound of footsteps, bare feet walking on asphalt, getting closer. 3. First scare. At exactly midnight, my truck started slowing down on its own. I pressed the gas pedal, but nothing happened. The engine was running fine, but it was like something was holding the truck back. That's when I saw it in my headlights up ahead. A child was standing in the middle of the road. But as I got closer, I realized it wasn't a child at all. It was something wearing a child's clothes. Its limbs were too long, its head tilted at an impossible angle. And its smile, God help me, its smile stretched from ear to ear, showing rows of needle-sharp teeth. I slammed on the brakes, but the truck wouldn't stop. It kept rolling forward slowly, like something was pulling it. The thing in the road started walking toward me, and with each step, its body grew taller. Its limbs stretched longer. Its smile grew wider. When it reached my windshield, it pressed its face against the glass. Its skin was gray and cold-looking, like a corpse. Its eyes were completely black, no pupils, no iris, just endless darkness. And it spoke to me in a voice like grinding metal. "Welcome to our highway, Marcus." It knew my name. How did it know my name? "We've been waiting for you. We've been so hungry, and you smell so alive." Its breath fogged the glass, and in the fog, I could see faces, dozens of faces, all screaming silently. I grabbed my emergency flare gun and fired it through the passenger window. The bright red light hit the creature, and it let out a shriek that shattered every window in my cab. The thing dissolved into black smoke, and suddenly my truck lurched forward at full speed. I thought I had escaped, but as I looked in my side mirror, I saw the smoke reforming behind me. Not just one creature now, but dozens of them. They were running after my truck on all fours, moving faster than any living thing should be able to move, and they were gaining on me. Deeper mystery. I floored the gas pedal and managed to outrun them, but I knew they were still out there. That's when I remembered the stories other drivers had told me. Stories I thought were just campfire tales to scare rookies. Stories about Highway 50 and the things that hunt there. 20 years ago, there was a bus accident on this exact stretch of road. A church group was traveling to a retreat when their bus crashed during a storm. 43 people died, including 15 children. They say the bodies were never found. They just vanished from the wreckage. But the survivors told a different story before they disappeared too. They said something came out of the darkness after the crash. Something that fed on pain and fear. Something that took the bodies and twisted them into new shapes. The authorities covered it up, but the highway remembers. As I drove, my CB radio crackled to life again. But this time, instead of whispers, I heard voices I recognized. Other truckers I had worked with over the years. Drivers who had disappeared on lonely highways. They were calling my name, begging me to stop, begging me to join them. "Marcus, pull over," said Jimmy Patterson, who vanished 3 years ago on Highway 80. "Marcus, we're so lonely out here," said Sarah Chen, who disappeared last winter on I-40. "Marcus, it doesn't hurt anymore. Come be with us forever." That's when I realized the truth. The highway shadows weren't just monsters. They were the spirits of everyone who had ever died alone on America's highways. Drivers, passengers, hitchhikers. All of them twisted by loneliness and darkness into something hungry and evil. My fuel gauge was dropping impossibly fast, like something was draining my gas tank. I was running out of time. The nearest town was 50 miles away, and I could see more shadows gathering on both sides of the road. They were herding me towards something worse than anything I had seen so far. 5. Major horror twist. Up ahead, I saw lights. Not normal lights. They pulsed and writhed like living things. As I got closer, I realized it was a truck. Way stop that shouldn't exist. According to my GPS, there was nothing but empty desert for miles. But there it was, glowing with a sick green light. I tried to drive past it, but my steering wheel turned on its own, pulling me into the parking lot. The place looked like it had been abandoned for decades, but there were trucks parked there. Dozens of trucks from different eras, some looking like they were from the 1950s. My engine died as soon as I parked. The silence was deafening. Then I heard footsteps approaching my cab. Slow, deliberate footsteps. I looked out and saw a man in an old uniform walking toward me. He looked normal at first, until I saw his face. His face was melting. Skin dripping like hot wax, one eye hanging from its socket, his jaw hanging loose and broken. But he was smiling, and when he spoke, his voice was cheerful, like a helpful gas station attendant. "Welcome to the last stop diner, friend. You look tired. Why don't you come inside and rest forever?" Behind him, I saw more figures emerging from the other trucks. Drivers in various states of decay, all smiling, all walking toward my cab with their arms outstretched. And I realized with horror that this was where all the missing truckers had ended up. This was their eternal parking lot. The dead drivers surrounded my truck, pressing their rotting faces against my windows. Their breath fogged the glass as they chanted my name over and over. Marcus, Marcus, Marcus. Their fingers, some missing flesh down to the bone, scratched at the doors trying to get in. That's when I remembered something my grandfather had told me years ago. He was a trucker too, and he had given me a small silver cross when I started driving. Keep this with you always, boy. The highways are older than you think, and some roads lead to places you don't want to go. I grabbed the cross from my glove box and held it up to the window. The effect was immediate and terrifying. The dead drivers let out screams that shattered what was left of my windows. Their faces began to melt and bubble, but instead of backing away, they became more aggressive. The truck began to sink into the ground. The parking lot was quicksand or something worse. I could see bones and skulls floating in the black liquid that was swallowing my truck. The bones of hundreds of drivers who had been trapped here before me. My truck was tilting forward, and the liquid death was creeping up toward my cab. I tried to drive past it, but my steering wheel turned on its own, pulling me into the parking lot. The place looked like it had been abandoned for decades, but there were trucks parked there. Dozens of trucks from different eras, some looking like they were from the 1950s. My engine died as soon as I parked. The silence was deafening. Then I heard footsteps approaching my cab. Slow, deliberate footsteps. I looked out and saw a man in an old uniform walking toward me. He looked normal at first, until I saw his face. His face was melting. Skin dripping like hot wax, one eye hanging from its socket, his jaw hanging loose and broken. But he was smiling, and when he spoke, his voice was cheerful, like a helpful gas station attendant. "Welcome to the last stop diner, friend. You look tired. Why don't you come inside and rest forever?" Behind him, I saw more figures emerging from the other trucks. Drivers in various states of decay, all smiling, all walking toward my cab with their arms outstretched. And I realized with horror that this was where all the missing truckers had ended up. This was their eternal parking lot. The dead drivers surrounded my truck, pressing their rotting faces against my windows. Their breath fogged the glass as they chanted my name over and over. Marcus, Marcus, Marcus. Their fingers, some missing flesh down to the bone, scratched at the doors trying to get in. That's when I remembered something my grandfather had told me years ago. He was a trucker too, and he had given me a small silver cross when I started driving. Keep this with you always, boy. The highways are older than you think, and some roads lead to places you don't want to go. I grabbed the cross from my glove box and held it up to the window. The effect was immediate and terrifying. The dead drivers let out screams that shattered what was left of my windows. Their faces began to melt and bubble, but instead of backing away, they became more aggressive. The truck began to sink into the ground. The parking lot was quicksand or something worse. I could see bones and skulls floating in the black liquid that was swallowing my truck. The bones of hundreds of drivers who had been trapped here before me. My truck was tilting forward, and the liquid death was creeping up toward my cab. The kind of night where fog creeps across the road like ghostly fingers. I was hauling a load of electronics from Denver to Chicago. Just another routine run. Or so I thought. The weather was getting bad and rain started hitting my windshield like tiny bullets. My wipers were working overtime, but the road was getting harder to see. I remember checking my watch as I passed mile marker 247. It was 11:47 p.m. The radio was playing some old country song, and my coffee was still warm. Everything was normal. Everything was safe. The highway stretched ahead of me like a black ribbon, and my headlights cut through the darkness. Other trucks passed by going the opposite direction, and I flashed my lights at them like we always do. Just truckers being friendly. But you know what they say about the calm before the storm. Sometimes the storm is not weather. Sometimes it is something much, much worse. I had no idea that in the next few hours my entire world would turn upside down. I had no idea that I was about to enter a nightmare that would change me forever. The first sign something was wrong came around midnight. My CB radio started crackling with static. Then I heard a voice, a child's voice, singing a lullaby. The voice was sweet, but there was something wrong with it. Something that made my skin crawl. Rock a by trucker on the highway so dark. When the shadows break, your truck will not start. The child kept singing this over and over. The melody was beautiful, but the words were terrifying. I grabbed my CB microphone and pressed the button. Hello, is someone there? Kid, you should not be on this channel. But the singing just got louder. More voices joined in. Children's voices all singing that same twisted lullaby. It sounded like a whole classroom of kids, but they were singing about death and trucks and darkness. I switched off the radio, but I could still hear them. Faint Ellie. It was a Tuesday night in October. Marcus, we have been waiting for you. The voice was distorted like it was coming through water. But the worst part was that it sounded familiar. It sounded like my own voice, but older and more tired. Like I was calling myself from somewhere else. Who is this? I shouted into the phone. How do you know my name? But the line went dead. I tried calling back, but the number was not in service. I threw the phone on the passenger seat and gripped the steering wheel tighter. My knuckles were white, and my whole body was tense. That is when I saw the first shadow. It was standing on the side of the road just outside my headlight beam. Tall and thin like a person, but wrong somehow. When I got closer, it was gone. Just vanished like it was never there. But I knew I had seen something. I knew I was not alone on this highway anymore. The radio came back on by itself. The volume was turned all the way up and static filled my cab. Then through the static, I heard voices. Adult voices this time. Truckers talking, but their words made no sense. Day 47 on Highway 50. Cannot find the exit. My family thinks I am dead. Been driving for months. The shadows, they are in my mirrors. Help us, Marcus. Help us escape. The voices were desperate and scared. They sounded like men who had been trapped for a very long time. I grabbed the microphone with shaking hands. Who are you people? Where are you? How do you know my name? But they all answered the same thing. We are the highway shadows. We are the ones who never made it home. We are the lost drivers who got caught in the loop. That is when I understood. This was not just a strange road. This was a trap. A supernatural truck stop for lost souls. And I was about to become one of them. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. I was going to die here. I was going to become another voice on the radio. He waved at me. Actually waved like he was happy to see me. Then he mouthed the words, "Do not trust them, boy. It is a trap. Run. Get out of here now." His lips moved clearly and I could read every word. But that was impossible. Dead people do not wave. Dead people do not give warnings. The man in coveralls was still smiling that horrible smile. "Come inside, Marcus. We have coffee and food. You must be tired from driving. You can rest here. You can stay as long as you want. Forever if you like." His voice was friendly, but there was something underneath it. Something hungry and evil. I looked around the parking lot again. All those trucks. All those drivers sitting perfectly still. They were not resting. They were not sleeping. They were trapped. Trapped like insects in a spider web. And now the spider was inviting me to join them. "No, thank you," I said. "I just need fuel and then I will be on my way." The man's smile got even wider. "Oh, but Marcus, there is no way out. Once you stop here, you stay here. That is the rule. That is how the highway shadows work. We collect drivers and trucks and we keep them forever." I tried to start my engine, but nothing happened. The key turned, but the motor would not catch. I tried again and again, but it was dead. The man in coveralls laughed, and the sound was like breaking glass. "Your truck belongs to us now, Marcus, just like you do." Suddenly, all the drivers from the other trucks started getting out. They moved wrong like puppets with broken strings. Their heads tilted at impossible angles and their eyes were completely black. No white parts, no pupils, Just solid black like looking into deep holes. Join us, Marcus. Stay forever. Become a shadow. Their voices were mechanical and distorted like old recordings played backwards. They started walking toward my truck, and I could see that their feet did not quite touch the ground. They were floating just above the pavement. They started climbing on my truck, dozens of them. Their fingernails scraped against the metal like claws on a chalkboard. The truck began rocking back and forth, and I could hear them on the roof, walking around up there, scratching and clawing and trying to find a way in. My windshield started to crack. Spiderweb patterns spread across the glass. Through the cracks, I could see their faces pressing against the window. Faces that were melting. Faces that were changing into something inhuman. Their skin was dripping off like hot wax, and underneath was something dark and terrible. That is when I realized the horrible truth. These were not truckers who got trapped here. These were the highway shadows themselves, creatures that fed on lost travelers. They had been using my grandfather's image to lure me in. They had been pretending to be helpful to get me to stop. I turned the key again. Nothing. Turned it again. The engine coughed but would not catch. The shadows were almost through the windshield now. Their black eyes were inches from my face, and I could smell their breath. It smelled like rotting meat and old gasoline. Give up, Marcus. It is easier if you do not fight. Join the eternal drive. One of them reached through a crack in the glass. Its hand was ice cold and left frost on everything it touched. It grabbed my wrist, and I felt my life force draining away. My vision started to blur, and I felt weak. But then I remembered something my grandfather used to say. When you are in trouble, boy, remember who you are and where you come from. I pulled out my wallet and found the photo I always carried. A picture of my grandfather and me at my first truck. I was just 18, and he was teaching me how to drive. The moment I touched that photo, a brilliant white light filled my cab. The shadows screamed and pulled back, covering their faces. The light was burning them. Their skin was smoking, and they were making horrible noises like animals in pain. The light was pure and clean, and it drove them away from my truck. But the light only lasted a few seconds. Then it faded, and the shadows started coming back. They were angry now. Their faces were twisted with rage, and they moved faster. More desperate. They knew I had some kind of protection, but they were not going to give up. Just when I thought it was over, I heard the sound of a real truck horn. Bright headlights cut through the darkness, and a massive 18-wheeler came crashing through the fake truck stop. The phantom trucks exploded into dust. The shadows shrieked and dissolved like smoke in the wind. The driver of the real truck leaned out his window and shouted, "Grab the rope!" It was my grandfather who had died 5 years ago. But he looked solid and real and alive. Not like the fake image the shadows had been using. This was really him. He threw me a rope and I tied it to my truck. The rope was warm and strong, and I could feel power flowing through it. Power that came from love and family and all the good memories we had shared. My grandfather gunned his engine and started pulling me away from that terrible place. He pulled me out of that nightmare, and the last thing I remember is his voice saying, "Some roads you drive, boy. Others drive you. Remember that. Never stop at a place that feels wrong. Never trust strangers who know your name. And always carry something that reminds you of home." When I woke up, I was in a hospital. They said another trucker found me unconscious on the side of Highway 50. My truck was totaled, wrapped around a tree, but somehow I was alive, not a scratch on me. The doctors could not explain it. They said it was a miracle. The doctors said I had been in a coma for 3 days. 3 days I cannot account for. They found my logbook and the last entry was at mile marker 247. But here is what terrifies me the most. When I asked the nurse what day it was, she said it was Friday. But I had started my trip on a Tuesday. I had lost 3 days. 3 days that exist somewhere else. Somewhere dark. Somewhere between the real world and the world of the highway shadows. I tried to tell the doctors what happened, but they said I had suffered a head injury. They said I was hallucinating. But I know what I experienced. I know what I saw. The highway shadows are real, and they are still out there, waiting for the next lonely driver, waiting for someone to pass mile marker 247 at just the wrong time, waiting to add another truck to their eternal convoy of the lost and damned. I quit long-haul trucking after that. Could not handle the highways anymore. Every time I saw a truck stop at night, I would start shaking. Every time I heard a CB radio, I would remember those voices begging for help. I got a job driving local delivery trucks, short runs, daylight only, never more than 50 miles from home. But sometimes late at night, when I am driving around town, I see that green glow on the horizon, just for a second, just long enough to remind me that they are still out there. The highway shadows never give up. They never stop hunting. They are always looking for new drivers to join their ghostly fleet. I started researching Highway 50, and what I found made my blood run cold. Over the past 50 years, dozens of truckers have disappeared on that stretch of road. Their trucks are found crashed or abandoned, but the drivers are never seen again. The police have no explanation. The families have no closure. But I know where they are. They are driving the Shadow Highway, the road that exists between worlds, the road where time has no meaning and escape is impossible. They are trapped forever in their trucks, driving the same loop over and over, waiting for someone to save them. I tried to go back once. I thought maybe I could help them. Maybe I could find a way to free the trapped drivers. But when I got to mile marker 247, my truck started acting strange. The radio turned on by itself, and I heard those children singing again. Rockabye trucker on the highway so dark. I turned around and drove home as fast as I could. Some battles are not meant to be fought by ordinary people. Some evils are too powerful to defeat. All I can do is warn others. All I can do is tell my story, and hope that someone listens. The highway shadows feed on loneliness and desperation. They target drivers who are tired and isolated, drivers who are far from home and family. They create the perfect trap, a place that looks safe, but is actually a doorway to hell. So remember, my friends, wherever you are in the world, if you are ever driving alone at night and you see lights that should not be there, do not stop. Do not investigate. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is wrong. And whatever you do, do not look in your mirror, because they might already be following you home. The highway shadows can travel anywhere. They are not limited to one road. Once they mark you as a target, they will hunt you wherever you go. If you ever find yourself on Highway 50 and you see mile marker 247, just keep driving. Do not stop for fuel. Do not answer your CB radio. Do not trust anyone who knows your name. And if you see an old Peterbilt in your rearview mirror with a driver who looks like your dead grandfather, do not stop. Wave goodbye. Because he is not coming to save you. He is coming to take you home. To the place where the highway shadows wait. Forever. To the road that never ends. To the truck stop where time stands still and hope dies. I still have nightmares about that place. I wake up in cold sweats hearing those children singing their twisted lullaby. I check my mirrors constantly when I drive. I avoid highways at night. I carry that photo of my grandfather everywhere I go, because somehow it protected me once, and maybe it will protect me again. But I know they are still out there, waiting, watching, hunting. The highway shadows never rest. They never give up. They are patient, and they are hungry, and they will wait as long as it takes to claim their next victim. Sometimes I wonder if I really escaped, or if I am still trapped in that loop. Sometimes I wonder if this whole life is just another layer of the nightmare. Maybe I am still sitting in my truck at that fake truck stop, and everything since then has been a dream. But then I touch that photo, and I feel the warmth of real love and real memories, and I know I am free. At least for now. At least until they find me again. Because I know they will never stop looking. I know they will never forgive me for escaping. The highway shadows are eternal. They have been claiming drivers since the first roads were built. They will continue claiming drivers long after we are all gone. They are part of the darkness that exists in the spaces between places. The darkness that waits in empty parking lots and abandoned truck stops.